for this Barbarian side, this particular Barbarian side, today amounts to the end of the road. They'll never play together again. As for the Pumas, they are about to embark on a new adventure. Good afternoon, Pat.
No, I think you're quite right. Two very contrasting approaches to this game. The Barbarians will want to go on a high, and they'll have some real fire in the belly to do so. For the RGs, well, it's a long road ahead, really, isn't it? And these young men are charged really with the next stage of Argentinian rugby. And well, they've got I would say, a big job to live up to what has gone before, and certainly in recent months. But I'm absolutely no doubt that they will start first and foremost with what is true to the Argentinian style of play, and that is that intensity around the breakdown, that physicality, and you know, that goes a long way to negate any, I would say, differential in the skill set that perhaps this Barbarian side has.
Yes, we just caught a glimpse here of Pablo Matera, one of the stars of Argentina's World Cup campaign. This is the first scrum.
Let's get this
Ramiro
right.
Herrera on the tight head side for Argentina. There is Matera.
Bind.
Over on this side, the loose head side for the Stephen Hoyles. A little chip through. That's meant for Naholo. Back goes the fullback. That's Machano. Machano, the only player in this Puma starting lineup who wasn't involved in the World Cup. Immediately, the Barbarian side showing that they mean business.
Yeah, it was a good, solid scrum from Argentina, wasn't it? But just perhaps a little slow and sleepy on the blind side, left too much space. And, well, I think the right option would have been to clear your lines there.
Good height on that.
And defend from a line-out, perhaps 10, 15 out, as opposed to a scrum with all this width, but all this talent, ultimately, with some big men on the wings for the Barbarians.
Bind.
You'd expect them to go wide off this and use it early, wouldn't you?
On the attacking platform, 5 metres out. The power there of the Barbarians pack. Kerbalo. There is Naholo. Kerbalo again, the short ball. And the referee blows the whistle just as De Jager crashed through, thinking he'd scored.
Number 11 clearly passed the ruck, tackled the man, created a space for the try, okay?
And there you can see JP Doyle pulling them up correctly. Number 11 going past the ball, obstructing the defender, making a little bit of space. I'm not sure it would have mattered. I think from that sort of range, coming onto a ball at that pace, I think the Barbars would have scored there. A real let-off for Argentina in the opening exchanges, and a bit of worry, really. Just physically, they're not dealing with the gain line early doors, and you know, one of the things we're so used to seeing from Argentina is that they control the gain line so well. Low, hard tackles, pressure on the ball. We're not seeing that at the moment.
And there is this new centre partnership, Gonzalez Iglesias and De La Fuente. There's the full-back in. Here's Ramiro Machano. I think, by the way, JP Doyle got his two wings mixed, where they're huge men. Nandolo, perhaps the rather more physical of the two. He was the player, or should I say, Naholo was the player who should have been penalised. There goes Montoya, the hooker, standing in for Agustin Krebs.
His opening exchanges, I think, from Argentina are a little naive at the moment. Great to see them wanting to play rugby, but the one advantage they do have is that they're a cohesive unit. They train together to play with structure, to kick to the corners, to go to their set pieces, their strength, and to play the Barbarians' way could prove to be fatal for them.
A little pop pass there from Matera onto De La Fuente. Here's Landaco. Landaco, who regained the starting scrum half spot through the period of the World Cup from Thomas Kubeli.
12, watch the ball.
Kubeli, who isn't here. He signed an agreement in the last couple of weeks to play Super Rugby next season for the Brumbies. Well taken by Ortega Decio over on the far side. The referee says the ball went backwards. The kick ahead from Moroni.
And a nice crossfield kick. Shame they couldn't quite execute it. And good retention from Argentina in the early stages. Plenty of people covering rucks, driving them through that contact area. Perhaps another 10 metres on that kick, and may have been a different result.
Stephen Moore, one of the two centurions in test cap terms for the Barbarians today. The other, Victor Matfield. Here goes Kerbalo. Kerbalo sees a gap. The little chip ahead. There's a chance here. Look at Sevilla making great ground. Superb work there from the back row forward. Well,
can we check whether it's taken over?
he carries the Sevilla name,
Can we just check whether that's taken
and
over?
he
or
has
not?
much of the pace as well. But I think Machano may well have saved the day.
Sharp, wasn't it, though, from
Yeah, I thought it was
Carvalho?
okay.
Look, you can see Argentina drift out, leave a huge gap.
Just let me
But a
see this.
beautifully weighted kick as well. Running at pace, a very difficult skill. And as you say, Sevilla with showing some
I'm just
real
gonna
pace
say another
there
angle
for a
check,
back row
it's taken
forward.
over by
Machano was
Blue.
under tremendous pressure.
Okay, taken
Yes,
over by
taken
the
over
5
by
metre
Blue.
scrum. Taken over.
Well, I was preparing to tell you, Pat, that look out for the fellow with 7 on his back, Ardi Sevilla. He has the same name and many of the same attributes, and we saw the outstanding pace there of the open side.
Stability.
And with the
Stability, please.
number 7 All Blacks jersey now up for grabs after,
Let it go.
well,
Let it
getting
go.
on for 2 decades, there are 1 or 2 people who may want to get their hands on it, and this is one of them.
Well, I guess it's probably the most prestigious All Black shirt there is. It's the one which they seem to fill with a world-class performer, no matter who plays. And if you're the man wearing that black number 7 shirt, then
Set.
you're the envy of New Zealand, I would say.
No.
6 members of this Barbarian starting 15 played in the World Cup final
This
here
side,
just 3
keep your
weeks
space.
ago.
I don't want to pre-engage. Give yourself a chance to get your feet in the right
3 of the
position.
winning All Blacks, 3 of the
Use
Wallabies,
the mark, please. Use the mark.
3 others,
To the left.
Masaki Naholo, Toby Smith and Joe Tumani,
Space.
part of the wider squads.
Stable scrum. Stable.
Just saw there Scott Fardy, a late bloomer in Test match terms.
Bind.
Nandolo standing on his own
Set.
on the left-hand side here for the Barbarians.
He likes that corner as well, didn't he? He scored against England on the opening night of the World Cup for Fiji over there. The little stab through from Sopoanga. The ball gathered.
I think he dropped it.
Offside.
Well, it's Tavita
I think
Kurandrani.
he was off. It looked a little on.
JP Doyle just
Just check
consulting
offside,
there with
please.
Tim Wiggles.
Yes,
Just checking the offside.
And you saw
He
it in
carried it over
Carvalho.
fine, but it wasn't
Shaped
in
to
line.
go left and
He
Nandolo
picked it
went
up. I
right.
just need to know whether he's onside.
The Argentinians then had to take speed, didn't they? Beautifully weighted again, the kick. He
We're just checking offside.
looks onside,
Can you say that
but
all right,
I think
JP?
there's a question mark.
That looks good to me.
He's well onside,
Yeah.
onside.
Now JP Doyle can give him the try. Look at a close look at it here. I wonder if it was premature. Oh, he did well to gather that. JP Doyle was right.
Well, it was a bit like the slip fielder's first snatch at it, wasn't it? Managed just to pop it up and take it before it caught the turf.
Yeah, tremendous execution, wasn't it, from the Barbars there. And Kurandrani, well, no stranger to scoring tries, but well gathered, and it looks a bit ominous for Argentina at the moment.
Yes, Kurandrani scored the second Wallabies try here in the final 3 weeks ago, when Australia really threatened to come back into it. Yes, it's not just the 7 All Blacks jersey that's up for grabs, also the 10. Lima Sopoanga, who's made a real impact in Super Rugby in the last year or two. And they're adding the 2 extra points for the Barbarians. 7 points to 0.
And really, it's the physicality of the Barbarians midfield that led to that try. The Argentinians know they've got to close them down quickly. They've got to get off the line and take line speed, stop them before they get any momentum, particularly that far out from the line. That's what left the gap in behind, and as you say, Sopoanga, well, weighted it beautifully, and a great start for the Barbars.
Victor there stretching to his full wingspan. Been turned over though by
12.
the Pumas.
Step 2, step 2, 2, 2.
There it is for Herrera, finding himself in the unlikely role of scrum half. Tackle from Matt Field. There is Landajo.
Playing advantage
Working
Argentina.
the short side. Back from Maroney onto Montoya. Spinning through, there is De La Fuente. Landajo again. This time to Matera. Oh, but it's spilt by Cordero. But we're going to come back for the penalty.
Captain 5 in the way.
This decision will, I think, give us good insight into the mindset of the Argentinians, and they're going for the corner. I think perhaps the one area that Argentina do have the edge, as you would expect, is at the breakdown. It's led to this opportunity.
Well, the outstretched arm there of Victor Matfield. Oh, but then it's spilt by Naholo, kicking the ball through the fullback there, Machado, and here's a chance for Cordero. Good tackle from Sopoanga. Landajo wants it, the referee playing an advantage to the Pumas. Ortega Decio in the shadow of the Barbarians post. Head down that time from Gonzalez Iglesias. Landajo back to Ortega Decio. The Yaga that time making an important intervention. Landajo, the little pass. Herrera, can he get there? It's very, very close indeed. We're going to have to recycle it again, and this time Facundo Isa makes no mistake.
Wow, brilliant retention from Argentina, but I tell you, what a line that was from Herrera. Nobody saw him coming, and when you don't see someone that big coming, you're in trouble, and he took some great yards out of the Barbarians' defence. Beautifully timed, read it well, and ultimately that's what led to the try. And we've seen a couple of big carries from him already. It was that mistake, wasn't it, which led to it. Argentina didn't switch off.
Yes, he's quite a player, is Facundo Isa. Impressed at the Junior World Championship a couple of years ago, which immediately caught the eye of Toulon. He had a season down at Toulon where, because of some of the Galacticos names, didn't make too many appearances. In fact, only one in the top 14. Returned to play his club rugby back in Argentina, and he's coming through now. And it is, I suppose, the discussion point, Pat, that without the real depth of talent, certainly in terms of numbers in Argentina, they've also been really, to a degree, been forced to bring through young talent that much sooner than maybe in countries like England, where there is a greater depth of talent. And the likes of Isa, the likes of Cordero, it has paid dividends.
Look, there's no question that, you know, I guess exposure to this level of rugby at a young age, you know, will certainly expedite the development of the players, and we've seen that in, you know, over the last few years with their southern hemisphere exposure, which ultimately led to a fantastic World Cup for them. You know, and I think slowly but surely we're starting to see that depth creep into the game, if I was honest. And you know, I think over the next 2 or 3 years, if they can continue this trajectory, then goodness knows, you know, just where Argentina will be 4 years from now in the next World Cup.
Keep your eye on Guido Petty here, one of the two lock forwards, wearing 4 today. Celebrated his 21st birthday on Wednesday. He's already played a World Cup. He's already scored a try against the All Blacks in a World Cup. That at Wembley in their opening game. And I suppose the question is, you know, would England ever play a lock forward at the age of 21?
Set.
I generally believe they would, actually. I don't necessarily think. We just have a lot of players, a lot of good players, and you know, I rather envy Eddie Jones in many respects coming into that England job, because he has got a great wealth of player talent at his disposal, and I think England, at the, I guess, the low ebb that they are, there's only really upside for him.
Super kick, setting up the line out inside the 22. Nicolas Sanchez. His kicking percentages from the kicking tee during the World Cup into the mid-80s. There you see the top point scorers. He was right up there. 97, 4 ahead of Andre Pollard.
Barbarians.
And Sanchez now happy to be back in Argentina after a few years in Europe. There's Matera at the base. His teammate there almost overran him. There goes Petty, wearing 4. Alemano, the other lock here today. Landajo. Sanchez. Herrera. Here's the fullback, Machado. The offload to Cordero. Matera. He's got Montoya alongside him. And eventually, just catching a foot on the whitewash.
Yeah, and Argentina again doing very well to retain the ball, but I would say that the Barbarians just a little bit tight in defence.
And you're ahead of the mark.
As soon as Argentina go through the phases, the 3rd or the 4th phase, Kubadrani there just tightening up a little bit too much work to do on the outside, and quick ball in the midfield, and they were under real pressure again, the Barbars, so perhaps a little bit unorganised defensively.
Short line out, they go to Ludiaga. Here's Ardi Sevilla, who captained the Junior All Blacks in the Junior World Championship a couple of years ago in France.
One thing you will say is the Barbarians line-out has functioned brilliant in the opening exchanges. Matfield is actually reading the Argentina line really, really well, and on that occasion, Ludiaga it was with a big take, finding it very, very simple to win their own ball, and plenty of pressure on Argentina.
We're all bumping into each other. Keep your space.
Ludiaga stands at 6'9". Scored a try for South Africa down at Brighton on a day that Springbok Rugby would rather forget. That defeat by Eddie Jones, Japan.
Yeah, he's a real athlete, tremendous turn of pace.
He's passed it from one to the other. He can't
so
go
a couple
quick.
of times on a day down at the Community Stadium in Brighton where we really felt that maybe the Springboks would come back and win that match. That was one of the occasions. The other one was Strauss's try when they just bulldozed their way through the Japanese defence, but well, it proved to be an 80-minute job interview for Eddie Jones, didn't it? There's Sevilla onto Sopoanga, the long pass out. Here's the fullback, Milner Scudder, and Nandolo puts it down.
Come forward, Dixon.
Yeah, come forward.
Milner Scudder, what a year he's had. Made his Super Rugby debut this year. By about June, we knew he had the fastest feet in Super Rugby. And by the end of September, well, we'd really elevated him to the status of having the fastest feet in World Rugby. What a World Cup he had.
Yeah, look, he kicked out really well on this occasion. Went on that wide arc, really, that's when you want your winger to cut back inside. Especially a man of Nandolo's size, to keep the ball alive and infield and just recycle it, but obviously not having played together much, I guess, and not quite on the same page yet. As this game develops, I expect they'll iron these things out.
Bind. Sit.
So almost 17 minutes gone at Twickenham. The Barbarians in Argentina, 7 points apiece.
Turned over.
There it is for Tuera Kerbalo. Out to Ryan Crotty, who just slaps it on. Here is Naholo. He's got Kurandrani on one side, also Milner Scudder. Up to within a couple of metres of halfway.
Yeah, but what a turnover that was. So quick in on the ball.
After releasing.
Machano,
Did well. He released
1 to 15, as they say, in this Argentinian side. All of them good over a ball. It really is the trademark, I think, of the Argentinian style of play. If you do not respect that area, you come up short against Argentina.
Well, the Pumas are entering into the spirit. This is quite a run. The offload there to Matera inside the Barbarians 22. There is Nogueira, the loose head. The little stab ahead from Cordero onto Montoya. Montoya gets rid of it just in time. There goes Petty. Petty's still going. He's got a sidestep as well. Well, the referee, JP Doyle, in the best spot to adjudicate, but the ball hasn't gone down.
Plenty of space on the right-hand side.
Hands behind.
The crossfield kick is on.
There is Santiago Cordero. And as we saw time and again throughout the World Cup, the dancing feet of Santiago Cordero earns the Pumas 5 points.
Argentina there, brilliant, kept their width right away across the pitch, and just left those gaps, didn't it, for Cordero's footwork. But a great initial break, and real patience here as well. Offloads going to hand, and Petty it was with a fantastic run here. Almost had his invisibility cloak on, no one could put him down, so close.
Yes, the initial break from Santiago Gonzalez Iglesias, wearing the jersey today, which during the World Cup belonged to El Majo. Juan Martin Hernandez is one of the absentees for the Pumas this afternoon. Look at Cordero.
Yeah, I mean, you'd expect them to make those tackles, but his footwork, again, as always, exceptional. Taking a bit of exception there to that clip around the ear hole as he went over.
Yes, Cordero, another of those young Pumas who came through the Junior World Championships 2 years ago in France when they didn't win the tournament. In fact, England did. And Eddie Jones was swift to point out at his official unveiling yesterday just over the road, made the point of England's outstanding talents over the course of the outstanding achievements in the last couple of years, winning 2 Junior World Championships out of 3. That was Issa taking it forward. Here's the fullback again, Moshano.
Mr. Barbarians!
It's there for Landajo. On to Sanchez, the inside ball to Gonzalez Iglesias.
Not now, 7. Ruck's formed.
Gonzalez Iglesias, just 5'10".
At the moment, Argentina really keeping their width. They're keeping a man on each touchline, and in doing so, the Barbarians are having to respect that width, and it's leaving space in the midfield.
He's on the ground, let go!
Moshano getting to ground with that.
Ball is there, right there.
Alabado just pleading
right
with JB Doyle.
Play it.
Who helps find the ball for Martin Landajo. Through the first quarter. Here's Pablo Matera, once of the Leicester Tigers. The cross kick. That's meant for Moroni. That was superb. The little step inside to Montoya. The pass was forward. So Montoya will score, but it will be ruled out.
It's a great take.
Well, let's just go down the pitch side. It's been a illuminating first 21 minutes. Rupert Cox is down there with Michael Checker.
Lovely start, Michael.
Yeah, it's starting to open up a little bit now. I think a few little errors early on from just a bit of rustiness, but now it's starting to open up.
3 weeks on from the World Cup final. Have you had a chance to digest all of that yet?
Yeah, a bit of depression really when I got home. It was all over. Sat in my living room, not too sure what to do with myself, but good opportunity to come back and enjoy a bit of rugby now.
And your old mate Eddie Jones has taken over here. What do you think he'll bring to this stadium?
Look, I think he'll enjoy the packed houses and the support that the team will get, and I'm sure he'll find a way to conjure up a bit of bravado behind that as well.
Thanks, Michael. Enjoy the rest of it.
Thanks, mate.
I was down there in the tunnel earlier this afternoon when the Barbarians arrived, and they were showing the home dressing room.
Stay still.
And Checker said, "Are we in here?" Raised his eyebrows. The background to that, well, I'll bring you up to date with that in a couple of moments. We're in the bottom 5 metres of the pitch. Here goes Matera.
Complete the tackle.
Landajo. Sanchez. Onto Gonzalez Iglesias. Landajo. Sanchez again. Back goes Cordero, apprehended by Naholo. A little stab ahead there from Moshano again. Cordero's there. And it's Stephen Moore. 22. He puts it down. Well, oh dear. That was a shocking restart. Matera. Well, it was Scott Fardy that time as Nandolo. Here's Ortega Decio. Well, you'd have to say both sides entering into the spirit. I'm not sure Scott Fardy would have done that 3 weeks ago here. At least I hope he would have done.
In Fardy's defence, there was loads of space in behind Argentina. I think he was just trying to kick it long, get the chase on, and take some ground back from Argentina. But you can see he's aiming for the bottom left-hand corner as we look at the screen there. And had he have executed it well, it would have cleared the lines quite nicely, wouldn't it? As it was, it kind of left him scrambling rather to save pace.
Get into the game now, and your guys are starting to shout a bit. You got to close that down.
He made his Super Rugby debut at the age of 27.
Yeah, take your time.
Allowing himself
Stephen,
a smile there.
Take a second. Can you do that for me,
as
please?
he sees his face on the big screen, no doubt. He sure knows what we're talking about.
Yes, there's Geronimo de la Fuente just getting some treatment. Yes, the background to that Michael Checker story was that if you remember back to the pool game between England and Australia here, because it was the World Cup, there was a toss-up for who had the home dressing room, and Michael Cheika won it, so he had the right to go into England's dressing room. But he said, no, it belongs to England, and rather sportingly, he gave it back. But it was just about the only concession he made all day, wasn't it?
Knock on here.
Ultimately, like you say, I don't suppose he'll be thinking too much about that anymore. A dark day for English rugby. Very unusual lineup there from the Barbarians. They sent all their big forwards over to the far right-hand touchline. Really stretched Argentina wide, and then, well, their equally big backs burst some holes down the centre of the field.
They've been free kicked. Be steady. Okay.
Yes, we've seen a couple of nice touches today over and above the period of silence to reflect on the life of John Olomu. One was from the Argentina team who came out here, and their training jerseys were all with 11 on their backs as they prepared during the warm-up. And if you look now at Naholo over on the far side, his jersey, 11 jersey, is actually blanked out. There's Kerbalo out to Sopawanga. There's Milner Scudder trying to find Naholo. Here's Landajo. Sanchez. Matera covering a lot of ground today. So too Montoya, who keeps on popping up on the wings. The chip over the top from Landajo. He went to ground rather too easily for the eye of J.P. Doyle. The tackle from Herrera. There it is for Kerbalo. Scoops it back to Stephen Moore. They've got a weight of numbers here. Great hands there from Crotty onto Sevilla. Back to Crotty again.
Open play. It's completely open play.
Thrown out by Hoyles. Kerbalo. Sopawanga. Victor's got it. Victor wearing
3 off the ball.
the socks there of the Northampton Saints, his new club. Penalty advantage being played here by
you throw it forward, you can't go quick. It's a deliberate offence.
J.P. Doyle, not now though.
Just ask me for it, okay?
Not very many penalties in this game. Extraordinary, really, the low number of penalties. I think this is perhaps the first kickable penalty of the game.
And you need to stop screaming. All right, yeah.
Lovely little touch, wasn't it, from Kerbalo there.
Well, here we are turning back the clock. Here goes Kerbalo. The tackle from Nogueira. There goes Petty. Landajo. Matera onto his left foot. It's a powerful left foot. Gathered by Naholo. Onto Milner Scudder. Kurandrani, scorer of the first try. Milner Scudder feeding into Hoyles. Here's Kerbalo. Back to Lutiaga. Onto Matfield. Sopawanga. This is marvellous stuff. Valmoina. And then comes Sanchez. Now's a chance for Cordero. Cordero. Across comes Naholo. Onto Machado. This is spectacular stuff from the Pumas, end to end. And that, one of the great tries from the Pumas, but out of the finest Barbarians tradition.
It was absolutely breathtaking, wasn't it? From both sides. End-to-end stuff, and well, I'll tell you, Super Rugby gets a real addition with these players, doesn't it, from Argentina? Great pace, great execution, turning defence into attack, and real pace, but not just that, great patience, lovely little flick pass, and a great try, and well, you would say Argentina deserved of their lead, I think, given just a level of execution and the effort and the work that they put in. What a lovely pass that was. Beautifully weighted. He didn't break stride at all.
The Pumas back three was one of the features of the World Cup, wasn't it? Only one of them here today. It was Santiago Cordero who produced that pass for Ramiro Machado.
11 minutes.
But I mean, the difficulty of that pass, it's really hard to comprehend. You know, Cordero is going absolutely full tilt. He sees the guy out the corner of his eye, he flicks it beautifully right in front of the oncoming Machado. Well, the Barbars defence just gave up. Brilliant try.
The Argentinians not awarding caps for this match. Santiago Cordero has 18 of them. He made his test debut in this month against England on this ground when he was just 19. Once again, a gamble taken on youth, which has reaped benefits and dividends.
Open play,
Carvalho pops it back there to Farmoina. Here's Ludiaga. Just inside the Argentina half, penalty advantage.
First, regain your feet.
Carvalho.
10 metres, 10 metres!
Off goes Carvalho. They didn't retreat 10 metres. On to Matfield. Mahalo's waiting for it. Oh dear. Well, whatever Santiago Cordero can do, it would appear on this occasion Victor Matfield can't.
Yeah, I think should have given it far earlier, shouldn't he? Should have kicked in field and let Naholo have a crack at it on the outside, big man as he is, but Argentina again on the attack.
Away comes Moroni, and the offload to Gonzalez Iglesias
2 metres forward.
just went forward.
It's breathless stuff, isn't it? Absolutely no let-up from this Argentina side. Every opportunity they get against a broken Barbarians defence, and Carvalho with a lovely offload again. But you can see here Matfield, he should have just kicked in right. Nice and early, made a very decisive decision and given it Naholo 10 metres out, he'd have scored for sure. Yeah, he shaped a pass, he had a look, and well...
12 and 9, calm them down, relax, take a breath.
That's why he's got 5 in his back, not 15.
Oh, sorry.
15 years as a Springbok, though, Victor Matfield. Not a bad career.
Yeah, no, you're right. You can't criticise, can you? Not just 15 years as a Springbok, but arguably the best lock in the world for a large period of that. And yeah, an incredible player. And Northampton Saints, I think, have got quite an asset there.
Now, Pat, you did a bit in your time, England international, England captain at one point. Never a Barbarian, though. Is that a gap on the CB?
Yeah, undoubtedly. You know, growing up as a child, I think we used to watch the Barbarians, and it was. I guess it was just marginally below getting capped, wasn't it? It was the one thing which I think every young man would love to have done, would have been to play for the Barbarians, and I would undoubtedly say it's a disappointment not to have done so. It's a wonderful tradition, the Barbarians, and I think everything it stands for. And well, these 15 players out there today are not letting them down at all.
125 years of rugby, the Barbarians. A club given birth in a restaurant in Bradford back in 1890. Back in those days, the rugby seasons came to an end at the beginning of March, so Barbarians saw the opportunity to create a window for themselves to play against many of the best sides in England towards the end of the season.
I think that breakdown on the touchline there was very, very revealing, very isolated Argentina, but Cordero it was, the number 10, the only man over the ball, securing possession for Argentina. Just shows really, doesn't it, just how they buy into the breakdown, these Argentinians.
7.
Some fine Barbarians in the ground today. We look back over the years, some of the very best players in the world have worn that famous black and white hoop jersey. Facundo Isa just knocking it forward.
First time in Oxford.
Yes, talking about famous Barbarians, there's one of them. A certain Gareth Edwards. Who will ever forget that try in the match of 1973?
Clearly Jason Leonard can no longer find shirts to fit his neck. It was only a matter of time.
Let's go.
What was the line from Cliff Morgan himself, a former Barbarian? Brilliant from Quinnell. Brilliant start. What a score. Gareth Edwards.
I forgot you.
1973.
You're number 9. You're number 12. You just need to tone it down, okay? Hey, 9. Just can't be screaming over.
Derek Quinnell. We can see there. Derek Quinnell was the man who gave the pass, wasn't it? Well, one of those passes, the move which went the full length of the old National Stadium, started by Phil Bennett, finished off by Gareth Edwards.
Okay, time out.
We talk about, you know, as boys watching the Barbarians, and you can see not just that, but just how much it meant to that team as well. They're all here today watching, I guess, the new Barbarians team. So many years on, you can see what it means to them, having played for this institution.
There's Roger Utley, former England captain, he too a Barbarian. JPR Williams, you can see on the left there. Scott Hastings, our own Scott Hastings.
Use it.
Must be a free lunch.
Here goes Matthias Moroni. Moroni, who deputised with Marcelo Bosch in the World Cup quarter-final at Millennium Stadium, scored the opening try of the match. One of the most impressive performances in any World Cup, that victory for the Pumas in the quarter-final against Ireland. There's Landajo. Gonzalo Iglesias goes back and gathers it. Good hands there from De La Fuente onto Moroni. Here is Ortega Decio. Lima Sopoaga tidies it up for the Barbarians. Ardi Sevilla, Lud de Jager, Stephen Moore, Thomas de Toy, Nandolo in there, Falmoina inside the Pumas half. Scott Fardy, here's de Jager again. On to Thomas de Toy, the youngster from the Sharks. Stephen Moore. Still going Stephen Moore. Guido Petty brings him to ground.
Play on off the leg.
Referee says that went forward off the foot. It's there for Victor Matfield. Here's Sopoaga. The cross kick. Well gathered by Naholo. Naholo puts on the afterburners, gets the try. The Barbarians right back in the match.
Well, that's been on all day, hasn't it? He's been out there screaming for that crossfield kick. That being said, it's got to be on the money, and it was a beautiful kick, wasn't it? Reaching for the pass at pace. Great step inside and well executed, and that rather closes the gap. I mean, he stepped as he caught it, didn't he? Great awareness, one eye on the defence, one eye on the ball, approaching him in the air. Brilliant finish, absolutely brilliant finish.
5K.
Saka Naholo. He cracked a bone in his leg going into the World Cup, and according to legend, turned his back on conventional medicine, went home to Fiji for traditional healing. It proved something of a miracle cure. He came back in time, well ahead of time, to make the All Blacks World Cup squad. And going into that final pool game, the match between the All Blacks and Tonga up in Newcastle, it was a case, looking at the All Blacks starting 15, that well, just looking there is actually a splint down there on his right leg, so that was the problem. And going into that match at St James Park, Steve Hansen had a real selection problem, because he had three outstanding wings as the conversion slips by, and at one point it looked entirely possible that Julian Sevilla may well be left on the bench for that quarter-final match, where he ended up scoring perhaps the try of the tournament against France. But Naholo dropped a couple, didn't he, in that game up at St James Park, which rather condemned him to miss out on the final phase of the World Cup. But no such slip-ups there.
No, it really was a world-class finish, wasn't it?
Here's Mashana. De Jager having to bend his knees just to take him below shoulder level.
Find yourself forward, keep going, legs.
There's Landajo. Well picked up by Machano. He's had a good first half, the fullback. Deputising for Joaquin Tukelet. Ortega Decio. Last 2 minutes of the first half. Sanchez that time taking it into the contact. was Nogueira.
Leave, down, put it down. No, drop. Yeah. Come on. Go on.
Famuina it was. Big pressure on the ball there, winning the ball back for the Barbarians. But you've got to say, at the moment, Argentina in attack, playing 3 or 4 up, presenting lots and lots of threats, and Barbarians defending just a little bit individually. And Argentina, well, they've carried on that vein really from the World Cup. They're looking enormously threatening when they've got the ball in hand at the moment, and it just comes from good, well-coordinated attack, good team play. It's not individuals, it's 3 and 4 up in the line. Everyone's an option, and making good decisions ball in hand.
6 on 6.
There's Adi Sevilla, Sopoaga, Crotty, Milner Scudder picking it up on the half volley. Good work again from the fullback Machano. Gonzalez Iglesias waiting for it. Here goes Gonzalez Iglesias. Inside there was Landaco. Cordero wants it. Cordero has delivered it. Can he get there in time? I think he did. Santiago Cordero.
And you've just got to say, this execution from Argentina at the moment is absolutely breathtaking. Making the right decision every time. Could so easily have passed that ball early. He didn't. He held back. He weighted the kick beautifully. And they're athletes. They're good enough athletes to out-sprint the Barbarians. And, well, what a finish that really was. We are being treated today to some spectacular rugby, I tell you.
Well, Santiago Cordero has just picked up a little bit of a knock, but look at that. You saw Landaco's head was up, wasn't it?
It was brilliant. He shaped to pass it. He saw it wasn't on. He saw the space in behind, and just a perfect kick. And look, they're making it look very, very easy. It really isn't. It's a breathtaking skill. And great pace to finish it as well.
And it all started with a fullback, didn't it? Ramiro Machano.
Yeah, he's had a fine game, hasn't he? A fine game, breaking out from his own half.
One player in the starting 15 not involved in the World Cup. Well, that is half-time, and what a first 40 it's been. Remains to be seen whether Santiago Cordero comes out for the second half, but if it's anything like the first... Well, as a tribute to the memory of Jonah Lomu, that first 40 minutes just about did it. And there you can see one of those lovely touches today. Nemani Nandolo with the 11 on his back, greyed out. And that, a tip of the hat to the great man. And I guess this week of all weeks, his name deserved to be first on the team sheet, that of Nemani Nandolo, a player whose physique and skills are carved out of many of the same raw materials as Jonah Lomu. Sopoaga onto De Jager. On from Sarvia, onto Naholo, a burst of pace from the wing. I think the Barbarians realise that they have to get the next score. And Michael Cheika, before the game, talked about obviously respecting the history and traditions of Barbarians, but also playing with a bit of edge too. And we're seeing that edge now from Milner Scudder. The pick up there from Hoyles. On to Thomas Dutoy. Kerbalo. Faumuina. Got a little bit of support there from Le De Jager. There's Sopoaga, Hoyles. And the pass back, but the ball just going forward from Ryan Crotty.
I mean, there's much talk, I know, whenever the Barbarians play about the festival atmosphere that surrounds the game, but I think this passage of play kind of epitomises the way Argentina are approaching it. He gets fended off, doesn't he, on that occasion. Moroni turns round, chases down, and catches Milner Scudder from behind. Never say die attitude. And ultimately, that is why what we've seen in the first half is an Argentina side really putting a World 15 to the sword. It means a lot to them. But a great start from the Barbarians. As you say, a little more edge to the passes. A little bit crisper in the step at the moment. Perhaps one or two words from Checker at half-time.
Bind! Sit!
Possibly on Tuesday. Issa just getting it away to Landajo. The old 1-2 with the scrum half. There it is for Landajo again. Here's Pablo Matera. Getting it away to Petty.
He's behind the guy who played it.
Yeah, just an offload too far, wasn't it? But a brilliant scrum from Herrera, I think it was, down here in the Argentina 22. Knocks the right-hand side up, creates the space and allows Argentina just to clear their 22 very comfortably.
Out was the big thing. When all went.
So important to have a stable platform, and Argentina have prided themselves on that for so long. We see here, brilliant scrum that was. Herrera absolutely demolishing the Barbarians front row. Nice, easy, 8-9, wasn't it? And you're already 40 metres out from your own line.
A lot of our reflections today on 1995 World Cup year when Jonah Lomu scored those 4 tries against England in the semi-final down in Cape Town, while Guido Petty, his father Roberto, played twice for the Pumas in 1995. Now time passes. Here's Kurandrani. We've got the Tri-Fest off to a start earlier on this afternoon. De Jager. Here's Matfield. Nandolo wearing the 11 jersey. Here's like Lomu. Nandolo 6'5", and also 100 and odd kilograms as well. Very similar players, but clearly one inspired by the other. Well, the referee JP Doyle on the end of that pass from Kerbalo.
He nearly swallowed that one, didn't he? He's got to smart a little bit. But credit again to the Argentinian defence. They're 2 men in every tackle. They're controlling the gain line. They're putting pressure on the ball. And
what's the big white thing, eh?
bright orange. Someone should tell Kerbalo that he's aiming for black and whites.
Well, they are a bit cheeky sometimes, scrum halves. Dare I suggest they did that deliberately?
No, you're absolutely right, actually. There's probably no question, is there? Took one look up and thought, come on, pal, out of the way. Well, I don't think Argentina will mind too much at scrum time at the moment. They look very dominant. Herrera's been absolutely excellent.
Yeah, throw the ball like that at the opposition and you get a yellow card. Do it to the referee and you get the put in at the scrum. And the pass from Crossi missing everyone.
But again, it comes from a good dominant scrum. Scrum doesn't move. Argentina take great line speed and put pressure on what is, let's be honest, a fantastic Barbarians backline. But at the moment, the Argentinian line speed is pressurising and forcing mistakes. And for whatever reason, every time we watch Argentina play, we seem to be impressed with the skill set, the development of the side. Perhaps we should just start respecting them for what they are, which is a fine rugby nation.
What a pass there from Ortega Decio to release Moroni.
Okay, back slow by 9 on the ground.
Kerbalo is being penalised here. That's what the advantage is for. The pick up from Nogueira. Well, the ball just getting through the hands there of Gonzalez Iglesias, but we're going to come back to the penalty.
Posts.
Just a little bit of respite now. Perhaps the first time in the game we've seen anyone slow it down and play the percentage it were, but a fine kick and a great attacking opportunity this for Argentina. 28-12 up. You feel if they score now, it's a long, long way back for the Barbars.
Look at the ground. It's a map field made up there to
Keep Argentina, keep your space.
catch
Keep your space.
Moroni around the bootlaces. Montoya goes to the tail, to Ortega Decio. Path slapped on by the scrum half. There goes De La Fuente, popped up by Landajo to Issa. There's Landajo again. Gonzalez Iglesias. Here's Geronimo De La Fuente.
Kicked.
That was one of the best names at the World Cup. Here's Matera. Just palming off and then bludgeoning his way through the opposition. Ryan Crotty felt there. There goes Montoya on his knees. Within touching distance now at the 22. Sanchez. That fired a little too hard at Machano.
You're going to get nothing like that, okay?
There's Pablo Matera. Quite a player, isn't he? Didn't really happen for him at Leicester where he picked up an injury, but another one who's gone back to Argentina, and I'm sure he'll light up Super Rugby.
Well, you see it so often, really, with some of these Argentina players. A lot have played in the Premiership and perhaps haven't set the league alight quite like they have the international stage for Argentina, and I just think so much is down to the pride and the passion that they play within that Argentina shirt. It underpins what they do, and you know, they now match that with a skill set, and that's what makes them such a formidable side. But there's so much passion, so much physicality when they play for Argentina.
Yes, and you can go through a long list of them. Joaquin Tucalet, not here today, but super player at the World Cup, but player who was at Sale for a while, moved on then to France. Played for a couple of clubs in France where he only made a handful of appearances, then last season went off to Cardiff Blues, now back in Argentina.
Yeah, you've got to look at the technique on this turnover, though. It was brilliant. Followed the man down, arms aloft in the air, proving to the referee that he'd released the man. And you see here, he's in the tackle. Look, ref, I'm off him. Straight into the ball. Fantastic position. 2-3 men try and clear him out. Plenty of pressure on the ball, and wins the penalty for his country. And that's an outside centre. And I think, you know, we talked so much about the lack of presence on the ball in the England setup during the World Cup, and you know, the Southern Hemisphere, and I include Argentina in that, in terms of you know, where they're playing all their rugby now as well, just seem to just be far more skilled in that area, and it's not individuals, it's not one player or two players that can fix the problem. The whole team has to address the problem, and you know, the Argentinians are brilliant at it.
Fine contribution in the first 49 minutes from Ramiro Machano. He has now given way to Emiliano Buffelli. Buffelli just 20. Buffelli, who's represented Argentina at the last 3 under-20 World Championships. There he is.
Let's go, load up.
Wearing the Pumas jersey,
Okay, come on, don't do that.
the senior team, for the first time, although it's worth making the point, this is not formally his Test debut, because this is not a full international.
To be fair, though, when you look down the team sheets and you look around Twickenham with 40,000 people, it certainly will feel like one.
Fine. Sit.
So, Tuera Kerbalo from the Chiefs. The traditional Pumas virtues of a powerful pack.
Knock on.
Gaining possession that time, but the ball is
outside,
not
stay
forward.
outside.
The referee playing the advantage here to the Barbars.
Keep going, Argentina.
That was Charlie
Advantage over, knock
Faumuina.
on.
Sopoanga onto Milner Scudder, out of the back of the hand. That was sublime stuff from Milner Scudder.
We've seen moments of brilliance, haven't we, really, from Milner Scudder, but you'd have to say that Argentina have done a really good job of tying him up in that midfield. Plenty of numbers in defence, and once again there, just no time and no space. No matter how good your footwork is, if there's a well-organised, well-presented defensive line in front of you, even the best players in the world can't make it happen.
No, I'm not hearing anything.
We'll change it half-back now for the Barbarians. Off goes Tuera Kerbalo. His place will be occupied by the Shark. Corbus Riley.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Patrick Lambie, the Springbok, coming on too. In fact, it's Ryan Crotty who's gone off, so Lambie will stand in at 12. And the alteration being made in the back row by the Pumas as well. On comes Leonardo Senatore, most recently of Worcester, and he replaces Javier Ortega-Decio. Here is Buffelli, straight into the action, getting through as well. He's got options.
That was breaks 2 tackles, great composure on the way through, wasn't it? Just shaped twice to the right, hit the guy in the face on the left. Great composure. A young man on the big stage for one of the first times. A wonderful way to start your contribution to the game. Broke the tackle beautifully, then he just dropped the shoulder, moved his legs out of the way. Don't show to the right. And put his man in.
Yes, Emiliano Buffelli came from the same small rugby club in Argentina as Juan Imhoff.
Yeah, I've got you.
Imhoff is on the bench today for Racing 92 at that game in West Wales, where they take on the Scarlets. You can watch that over on the red button a bit later. Champions Cup rugby here on Sky Sports. A couple of cracking games coming up actually later on. Glasgow will be playing their first game in the Champions Cup up against Northampton. That's after this on Sky Sports 5 o'clock. And starting 15 minutes or so later is Scarlets against Racing 92. Sky Sports 5, you need the red button for that. Scarlets looked good last week against Northampton. Here's Petty. Landajo. Nogueira took a couple of grabs at it. Here's Sanchez. Geronimo de la Fuente. Alamano bursting through. Here's Matera. Another carry from the blindside flank. Back from Senatore. Well slapped on there by Sanchez. Space here for Facundo Issa. Well, that was a loose pass. The hack from Maroney.
Yeah, you just have to say at the moment the line speed has disappeared from the Barbarians' defence, except on the odd exception when an individual tries to fix it. And you know, they're just too good, Argentina, for that. They're retaining the ball far too easily. And well, great offload, wasn't it, from the holo?
Well, here he goes now for the first time. Nandolo in space. What a tackle that was from Sanchez coming across. Try-saving stuff from the fly half. Well, Sanchez has rather hurt himself as Senatore goes bounding forward. He's got De La Fuente. Here is De La Fuente. Buffelli is also there. Arnie Sevilla making good ground. De La Fuente still going, still going. He claims the score.
Well, it's exhausting just to watch, isn't it? But once again, Barbarians on the attack. Argentina turn it over and just about kills the game.
Well, we were waiting for the moment when Nemani Nandolo Sanchez, I suppose if you can remember back to that great World Cup final in '95, it was the role of James Small, the Springbok wing, who played such a great part in winning the match, and he made tackles like that on Lomu time and time again. Well, Nicolas Sanchez still getting back to his feet, but look here at the strength of De La Fuente.
Yeah, but it's the presence of mind as well, isn't it? The totally composed ball in hand. Senatore showing great pace, lovely execution. Yeah, but ultimately there's nothing desperate about it whatsoever. And De La Fuente cut inside beautifully and finished well. But they can't praise Sanchez enough. You know, he's half the size of that man, and he just went low and chopped him down like it was business as usual.
And Emiliano Buffelli, for the first time, slots the ball between the uprights here at Twickenham. I wonder how many more times in his career we'll see that. It's just 20. Cordero then, another wonderful pass. Senatore, bounding his way through.
you see, they're carrying the ball in one hand, but looking all the time, where's my support, where's my support? Timed this pass to perfection, and that's why the try was scored. It's the little pieces of execution that really, really matter. And at the moment, every single decision they make, every bit of timing is absolutely spot on from Argentina.
Crawling.
Stephen Moore takes it. There goes Tamani.
All back by Argentina.
Both coaches offloading the benches now. Here goes Guido Petti. Onto Alemano. Well, that worked rather well. De La Fuente puts boot to ball. Back goes Naholo. Can't gather it. Montoya does. De La Fuente again inside. Onto Alemano. And Leonardo Senatori. Great tackle coming back there from Pat Lambie. Argentina still have it though. It's Facundo Isa. Landajo. Cordero. It'll chip over the top.
There. Play on, nothing there.
Here's Kurbis Reinach. Well, Kurbis Reinach is anything like as quick as his father. He'll be very handy indeed. I suspect he rather isn't, but Kurbis Reinach, whose father earned a handful of caps on the wing, was the South African 400-metre record holder for about 20 years, and just outside 45 seconds. There's Matera. On to Herrera.
Stay on it. Gotta stay on it.
There's Jaco Reinach, senior. They played in that great Springbok side with nice quarter at fly half. The Duplessis brothers. Ardi Severe onto Naholo. Back to Ardi Severe. Here's Pat Lambie. Tamani has it now in hand. Naholo wants it, but Naholo doesn't get it. At least not yet. Lambie. Well, the deliberate knockdown there from Buffelli, I think. Referee playing an advantage here, so there is a penalty advantage coming.
Penalty Barbarian advantage. Leave him.
Here goes Naholo again, just barging off Cordero to Scott Fardy.
Knock on one for Argentina.
Tamani, and now the space opens, and despite the best efforts of Buffelli, it is Joe Tamani, the Brumby and Wallaby, who gets the score for the Barbarians.
Yeah, he's made quite an impact, hasn't he, Tamani, since coming on. If you look at the field now, there are players strewn all over it, catching their breath. It's been a quite incredible intensity throughout, and you can just see it now, starting to knock the edges off some of these players. Everyone committed to playing winning rugby, and well, Tamani probably deserves that. Good turnover from the Barbarians, and well, through one means or another, he managed to find some space and finished it really, really well. Big and quick.
Is Mani Nandolo, who converts the try from Tamani. Well, on an afternoon when we've been celebrating the life, achievements and impact on the game of one rugby great, I think we'd be remiss not to mention that on the same day we lost Jonah, South African Rugby 2 was mourning the loss of one of its most outstanding players, John Gainsford. Like Jonah, he too broke the mould of tradition at a time back in the 1960s when those in the midfield were generally fast but lightweight. Gainsford was a powerful and physical centre. He earned 33 caps for the Springboks and sadly died on the same day as Longu. There's De Jager. First touch there for Jamie McIntosh. Here's Kurbis Reinach. Matfield. Ardi Severe. That's James Hansen, the Australian. 42 points to 19.
Turnover, ball on the ground.
So, pretty much at
turned
a point
over
a minute now.
Turned over by 19 and then unplayable.
Great work on the floor again, wasn't it, from Argentina? Lozano, I think it was that time. But better shape from the Barbarians at the moment, Lambi, in that back line. They just seem to be distributing better and just executing better, getting the ball into those wider channels and those big men with a little bit more time, a little bit more space.
Yes, here's one of the fine traditions of Barbarians rugby. You wear your club socks. You can see there the Saint socks worn by Victor Matfield. And if he's taken the price tag out of those, hasn't had a chance yet to wear them competitively for his new club.
I think we've seen enough today to see that he's still in great shape, isn't he? And he's going to be a real attribute to them. I know he's certainly towards the end of his career in terms of age, but he's a fantastic athlete and I think have a real impact on the Premiership.
Yeah, so we saw his strength of character as well during this last World Cup with the emergence of Lud de Jager, and I think Heine Kamea, his first inclination was to include Victor Matfield in the starting lineup for the Springboks.
Isolated, only man there. Only man there.
But Victor Matfield, I think, saw the potential of Lud de Jager and took a step back. There is Lud de Jager inside to Adi Sevilla. Reinach. Oh, great hands there from Tamani. McIntosh. That's the halfway line. Oh, Scott Fardy just knocking it on.
It's rather been the story, hasn't it, for the Barbars today? Plenty of enterprise, plenty of promise, but just ultimately short with the final pass, and when they do finally make that space, they haven't been able to execute. Quite the reverse for Argentina. But both sides now, hands on knees, they look absolutely shattered.
Good scrum last time. Yeah, it's good.
So,
okay, let's go,
almost
Argentina.
63 minutes gone.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go down the pitch side, and we've got Gus
Good
Pichot
scrum
down
last
there.
time, boys. Same again. Good scrum. Leo, you can't change slots. Stay there, mark the ball line. Crunch! Five. Sit. Okay, use it, Argentina. Use it! Balls out. Use it!
Yes, the Pumas have shown their durability, haven't they, in recent seasons? Failed to win any of their first 17 matches in the Rugby Championship, but over the course of the last year or so, that first win against the Wallabies and then that first ever in August, which established a platform for that World Cup campaign. There is Daniel Hurkada in the middle, former scrum half, came over to Europe,
Time off.
did a lot of work with his coaching, working with Portugal before going back and taking the top job at home. Who will ever forget the tears running down his cheeks on this ground a month ago towards the end of that semi-final defeat.
Hey, what?
Off goes the hooker, I should say,
Okay, listen for use it.
Julian Montoya.
Crouch!
He's replaced by Santiago Iglesias Valdez.
And I think Ricardo will be slightly frustrated with the last 10 minutes, I would say, from Argentina. They just seem to have lost that directness. First and foremost, you know, I think you've got to go forward, you've got to control the gain line. They're just a little bit lateral at the moment, and that's playing into the Barbars' hands. They brought 2 or 3 fresh legs on, and they seem to be creating havoc.
Well, there's Cordero again.
Argentina ball.
Working well with not too much real estate on the far
There's a
side.
mark.
But I think there's a good example of just
Come on.
how laterally they're working at the moment. Nice passing out to the touchline, but into touch, and then that will frustrate them, no doubt.
Okay.
We need to win that battle in the midfield again, I think, at the moment.
Well, the Barbarian motto rugby football is a game for gentlemen in all classes, but for no bad sportsmen in any class. Well, I suppose if you were to be entirely critical, that fella, Bucky's Borter, has rather stretched the definition on the odd occasion. But off the pitch, he's a wonderful man, and what a terrific Springbok. And here he comes, perhaps the last chance we will have to see him playing competitive rugby again, and alongside his old mate, Victor Matfield.
Yeah, that combination of Matfield and Botha was the best in the world for many years, and he's an absolutely brilliant second row, and there are a few men, I think, that grace the second row shirt that I guess define a team quite like he did for South Africa. And you know, it's wonderful to see him out there playing for the Barbarians today. No doubt he'll have a big physical presence in the closing exchanges.
Yes, John, winner of the Super Rugby titles, the top 14, the Heineken Cup, the Champions Cup, and let's not forget, in 2007, the World Cup.
Yeah, I think if you had to design a second row and look at all the qualities that you want, the size, the physicality, the aerial presence, his ability to get over the gain line, ball in hand, he's got absolutely everything.
And I can remember a top 14 game not long after he'd gone to Toulon, admittedly on almost a bottomless surface down in Basque territory when Toulon were taking on Biarritz. He turned round and he caught to Gutser Ngwenya. So already into his 30s, he's got a fair turn of paw as well.
Yeah, I think we so rarely get the chance to see it because he's never in the wider channels in space. But you're absolutely right. He's an absolutely tremendous athlete.
It's not a big deal. Let's go again, nice and quick.
And he was an athlete, a bit of a tennis player as well. So he's somebody who's got all-round talents.
Let's just do it again. Crouch!
So a little more than 13 minutes to go at Twickenham. Argentina lead the Barbarians by 42 points to 19.
Again, look at the angle in the front row there. Herrera's absolutely mashed his opposite number.
The chip ahead from Senatore, back goes Naholo. And Naholo looks at the options. Onto Klubitrainer, who, from a very tight angle, fires it into touch.
I think the right option to stick the boot on it. There's no way out from that corner, was there? But the Barbarians really struggling in the front row at the moment, even with some fresh legs on. Herrera's been brilliant all day, and you can see so dynamic in that space, isn't he? Into the hooker. And straight away, the Argies with another opportunity to attack.
There's Senatore. Escura, the replacement scrum half. Escura has it again. Onto Matera. Just sparring with the opposition. It's there for the scrum half again. Sanchez is turned around. There's De La Fuente. Escura feeds it to Senatore, up to the 22. Driven forward by Lozana. Lozana fading the ball out there to Cordero. And Cordero may well have sneaked into the corner.
Well, regardless, yet another brilliant piece of skill, wasn't it? Far better from Argentina. Plenty of patience, great recycling of the ball.
Yeah, JP,
a lovely step and offload to create the space, and then, well, we'll see here, did he manage to finish it? Great try if he did.
Just that back.
It's a tight one, isn't it?
From the other end, JP.
Yeah, left foot.
See it from the
Looks
other
like
side.
Milner's going to might just have done enough. It's the left leg, isn't it?
Like
did the left foot touch the touchline?
Well, it did. But I suspect the ball might have gone down first.
It's enormously tight, isn't it?
JP, he's in touch.
Yes, you're right, Pat.
JP, can you hear me?
Decision given, touch, thanks. Perfect,
For
David.
once.
Don't be hard on yourself. Quick to backfield. Not quite gathering it.
Interference on the jumper.
Wang up. Big Pablo Matera there. Well, we saw him in that quarter-final against Ireland.
Numbers,
So many
Argentina,
outstanding
3.
carries. He's done the same here.
Yeah, he's had it all, hasn't he? Good presence on the ball, some great carries. Defensive effort has been absolutely massive as well, and well, it just shows really that the Argentinian back row is in good hands, isn't it?
Here's Naholo. On to Toby Smith. Out that time to Hansen. It's backfield.
Meets outside the 22.
One of his lesser-known talents that time.
6 on 17 on the ball.
Lambert on to Tamani. He's got the support there of Jared Butler, the Brumby. There goes McIntosh.
6.
Reiner. Little inside ball there. Inside the last 10 minutes.
No, leave it.
Lima Sopawanga. There's Ardi Sevilla. Back to Sopawanga again. 2 grabs from Victor Matfield. Struggling to make any ground here. Oh, great little step that time from Pat Lambie. Eventually upended. Reiner couldn't pick it up.
By you, 21. Hey. It's good. It's good. Yeah, it's fine. I'm happy with you. No problem.
Well, Pat Lambie for South Africa in that match against Japan. He was one of the players who paid the price.
No, you knocked it off.
He had the confidence of Hannah Khmer going into that match, but found himself.
I think it's worth just comparing Lambie there on that break and ultimately the offload that he threw very late over the shoulder of both to some of the composure that we've seen from what we perhaps say were the less experienced Argentinian players. When they've broken the line, they've been totally composed, they've made the right decision every time, they've offloaded when it's on, and they've kept the continuity when it's on, and I think that's really been the secret of the success so far for Argentina today.
There's another of the fresh-faced youngsters for Argentina, Thomas Lozano, just 21. Yet he has earned
Just remember,
5 caps already for the Pumas, all of those against South American opposition.
Bind. Sit.
And it does go to show just how early Daniel Hurtado is blooding these young Pumas. As Ascarate onto Sanchez, onto Buffelli, and it was just a shade forward.
Put him through the hole. Good effort.
Such a shame, wasn't it? 6 inches forward, but again, a lovely intricate play again from the Argentinian backs, and they're just making holes everywhere at the moment. But they're presenting so many threats in attack.
These guys.
And you can see
Okay, we're
1, 2, 3, 4
people
people at the line. So difficult. And I'll tell you what, it was marginal.
Let's go. Come on, Victor.
Nicolas Sanchez there alongside one of the players involved in that move. Gabriel Ascarate, who had a couple of months at Glasgow 2 years ago.
Bind.
Ascarate certainly one of the lesser-known Pumas players.
Come off.
There's Nandolo. Once again, Nicolas Sanchez going somewhere where he's been this afternoon and got hurt. The offload that time from Matfield to Fardy. Fardy unable to find Pat Lambie onto Milner Scudder.
Release Argentina!
Reinach wants it. There's Sopawanga. Here it is for Ardi Sevilla. Floating it out to Hansen. Onto Nandolo. Getting through Sanchez that time. And then just skipping through the tackle. And Lomu-esque. The ball tucked under his...
Well, I suppose the Argentinian outside backs could be forgiven, can't they, at this late stage in the game. Brilliant from Nandolo, wasn't it? Good bend. Well, he didn't even lay a finger on him, really. You question whether he really had the heart to stick his shoulder in where he knew it was going to hurt. So another look at it. Conveniently dived a foot behind. I don't blame him.
There was a hint of hurdling technique, though, wasn't there, from Nandolo?
There aren't too many people, I don't think, that would stop him on the hoof from that sort of distance.
Look at the way he kicks here. This lazy sweep of the left foot. All that was in slow motion.
To round off, fantastic try. But too little too late, you would suggest, from the Barbarians.
The number 11 jersey does its bit. Well, the Pumas playing at Twickenham for the 12th time today. They've only won here twice before. Once against the London division. That was 19 years ago. Most recently when they beat England back in 2006. So Argentina poised to record their first win here for 9 years. That last one, I seem to recall, heralded the departure of Andy Robinson as the England coach. England themselves now embarking on a new era, as indeed are Argentina. And just to remind you that what you're looking at here, wearing the Pumas jerseys, is essentially their Super Rugby franchise for next season. So if you enjoy your early mornings from about February, expect to see the same team playing against the likes of the Hurricanes, the Highlanders, the Stormers, the Bulls, the Rebels and the Waratahs. Off goes Sanchez, and Sanchez, little step inside, Nahalo overcommitted himself, and Nicolas Sanchez is on the score sheet.
Yeah, and fully deserved for Sanchez, who's been brilliant all game.
And he's another of those players, as we look here at Nandolo just throwing the speculative pass. Sanchez, who came to Europe, never really fully cracked it. I don't think he got as many opportunities as perhaps he deserved. He spent 3 seasons at Bordeaux-Bègles, where he was understudy to a certain Camille Lopez. He left there, eventually resurfaced at Toulon as a medical joker. But then with the introduction of Super Rugby for Argentina sides, he's opted to go back. But now, if you were naming an all-star World 15, there's a very good chance you put him in the current number 10 jersey.
Well, certainly on recent form, he's been fantastic, hasn't he? An opportunity here for him to convert his own try, 5 from 5 so far.
And that's entirely in character. His World Cup percentages in the mid-80s. Doesn't miss many, and hasn't missed that one.
Well, I think as we approach the end of the game, it's time really to reflect on who has been the standout performer. I think there's a few worth mentioning dispatches, but not more so than Herrera. Ramiro Herrera was absolutely fantastic in that front row and really spearheaded the platform for Argentina. But on a day like this, where we've had 50 points, or the best part thereof, scored by Argentina, I think it has to be an outside back that gets the prize, and my Killick man of the match is Santiago Cordero.
Yes, he's been a real star in 2015. Great hands there from Milner Scudder, you could say the same of him. Nandolo picking up the offload, up to the Argentina 22. There's Kobus Reiner, on to Sopoaga. There's a numerical advantage out wide if Hansen can find them. Matfield, basketball style, to his old mate Bucky's. Can the Barbarians finish with a flourish? Final minute. Vardy. On to Sopoaga. Scooped out there to Pat Lambie. Surely this time, Matfield. It's almost 2-on-1. Into McIntosh. Hansen picks up. Surely now. Victor Matfield. It could have been scripted.
Wow, wonderful to see the big man going over in the corner. I've got to be honest, I think McIntosh will be more relieved than anybody after blowing one of those simple 2-on-1s I think I've ever seen. But brilliant, wasn't it, from the Barbarians? And you see, as the Argentina team just come off the gas a little bit and their intensity wanes a little, just a small amount, well, that's all it takes, isn't it? Milner Scudder's skill on the outside there. With a little reverse.
Yeah.
And Matfield it was. Backy's Botha is taking the kick.
Well, we are about to enter pantomime season.
He's undoubtedly the villain.
Yes, the pantomime villain of rugby for the last decade and a half.
Judging by this, just the first time he's ever used a kicking tee. Oh, I do hope he kicks it.
Well, we're just rather hoping it doesn't prove to be an air shot.
I think 10-15%.
Well, he's taking it rather seriously, or, well, at least I thought he was taking it seriously. Almost, but not quite.
Well, a wonderful spectacle, wasn't it? Two great teams played in the true spirit of the Barbarian Rugby Club. 49-31, and we've all been thoroughly entertained.
Yes, 80 points in 80 minutes. Victory for Argentina as they embark on their new era. But I think it's fair to say that this truly was an occasion when the outcome was secondary to the real purpose, which was rugby's congregation gathering at one of its greatest cathedrals to celebrate the game itself and some of its finest exponents.
Well done, wasn't it? Well done, eh? Thanks, Josh. Thanks, big man. Thanks, eh? Thanks, eh? Well done. Jose, thanks, David. Thanks, eh?
Thank you. Again.
Well done.
Thank you.
Santiago, you played some beautiful rugby in the World Cup and you've continued that here today.
Thank you very much. We expect this match. We want to finish the year very well, so we are happy.
It's also the 125th anniversary of Barbarian Rugby today, and you're a player who has played for both the Pumas and the Barbarians, so that must be very nice.
Yeah, it was an honor, and I also want to congratulate the Barbas for the 120 years. That's all.
Okay, well, you are the man of the match. Very well played. I can just... we've got a bottle of champagne here for you somewhere. Patrick Gordon is here from Killick & Co. to present you with your award. You are the Killick Man of the Match. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you very much.